Hello and welcome to CTV Sports. I'm Brett Kennedy.
And I'm Travis Green. We here at CTV Sports hope that you had a fantastic Labor Day. We've got a lot to cover tonight. CSU football got off to a hot start, plus volleyball and soccer had busy weekends.
That's right, Trav, and it's highlight time.
It is.
Instead of kicking down the door to start this season, the Colorado State football team blew the door completely off the hinges. The Rams trounced over Savannah State 65-13 for Coach Mike Bobo's first win at Colorado State. Quarterback Nick Stevens looked very sharp as he completed 20 of 28 passes and fired 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers. Familiar faces who caught touchdowns were Rashard Higgins, Joe Hansley, Xavier Williams, and Kevon Cartwright. The defense showed up as well, forcing the game's first touchdown as Kevin Davis recovered a high snap in the end zone. Cornerback DeAndre Elliott also recorded an interception early in the game, and defensive lineman Martavius Foster ended up with 3 sacks. The Rams will welcome Big Ten opponent Minnesota next Saturday at Hughes Stadium. After the game, Coach Bobo was happy with his team's performance and wanted the spotlight on the team rather than himself.
We're 1-0, and that's where we wanted to be. Like I just said, it's about those guys and those guys improving, and my job as a coach to make sure that we improve on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday, and get ready to play on Saturday. That's the main objective as a coach, is to get the guys ready to play and those guys keep improving, and that's what I want to do.
Now, Travis and I were both at the game. Here's our recap shortly after CSU's blowout win.
Game number 1 is in the books, and win number 1 for the Colorado State Rams. They beat the Savannah State Tigers 65-13. I'm Travis Green, joined alongside Brett Kennedy. And Brett, this one could be looked at as a spreading the wealth offensively for the Rams. 8 different players with touchdowns in this one. They really showed off their weapons today.
And 6 of those were receiving touchdowns, Trav. Nick Stevens looked smooth today. He had a nice fade pattern to Xavier Williams in the corner of the end zone, had a nice another fade to Rashard Higgins in the other opposite corner of the end zone. And Mike Bobo said earlier today, he said Rashard Higgins is not the only offensive weapon that this team has, and as it could be seen by 6 different receiving touchdowns, CSU spread the ball all over the field today.
They did. They really showed off those weapons. Stevens talked about it earlier this year about how great this receiving core is, and they proved it today. But we can't not talk about the defense. Defense holds Savannah State to just 13 points in this one. Martavius Foster with 3 sacks. Stepped up big time today.
And DeAndre Elliott had an interception early on, and it's good to see the defense getting some turnovers and getting some sacks, because Minnesota, a Big Ten team, is coming here next week. They always have a tough defense, and CSU has to be ready.
As Brett just said, big game coming up this Saturday against Minnesota. If you want more updates on the football team going on in this week and on the game day on Saturday, go to collegian.com, click on that sports tab. After such an impressive performance, we got to show some love for 2 guys that balled out this weekend. Here's our football players of the week. As you can see offensively, Nick Stevens, 20 for 28, Brett, almost 300 yards passing and 5 touchdowns. And then defensive side, Martavius Foster, 3 sacks. He was a stud.
Those guys are studs.
Well, Stevens might be a little more excited about this award, although it's tough to beat a CTV Sports award. After Nick Stevens' stellar performance on Saturday, it came as no surprise that he was named Mountain West Offensive Player of the Week. This was Stevens' first start at quarterback and the first time he's won the award, which equals ex-Rams quarterback Garrett Grayson's total of Mountain West Offensive Players of the Week awards last season. As said earlier, Stevens passed for 289 yards and 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers. It likely won't be so easy when Minnesota comes to town this week. All right, from football to volleyball, fresh off a 3-0 start to the season, CSU volleyball took on number 15 Arizona State on Friday. Unlike previous games this season, CSU couldn't handle the Sun Devils. ASU swept the Rams in 3 sets, giving Coach Hilbert's crew its first loss of the season. Here's what Coach Hilbert had to say after the loss.
We generally, in the first 3 matches, we have been the more mature team. Arizona State was much more mature than us in the serving passing game and in unforced hitting errors. And then on top of that, you know, they're a very athletic team.
Saturday, the Rams found themselves on the other end of the broom this matchup, sweeping the Broncos in 3 sets. Here's what redshirt junior Acacia Andrews had to say about the win.
I think we all came into the gym this morning and we were like, okay, all right, like, a loss is a loss, but we're going to come back and, we're going to learn from it and definitely come back with a fire.
1-1 weekend moving their record up to 4-1 on the season. Up next for CSU will be an in-state matchup against Northern Colorado on Tuesday, which will wrap up the CSU UNC tournament.
The Colorado State soccer team was in a tournament in Moraga, California this past weekend. The Rams fell to St. Mary's 1-0 in the first game on Friday and also lost to UC Irvine 1-0 in the second game on Sunday. CSU's next game will be at home at the Lagoon against Northwestern this Friday.